Okay, I think we're in a good place to get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. My name's Charlie, and I'm the product manager for Distribution Engine here at NC Squared, and I'm really excited to talk to you all about the Nightingale release of Distribution Engine. Before we get started, a couple of bits of housekeeping to go through. As we go through today's presentation, please give us your feedback, give us your questions as we go through. There's a panel in the chat panel that will allow you to ask some questions. And we've got a little bit of time at the end of the webinar where we can answer some of those live for you. We'll be having a few polls throughout. Obviously, that's optional, but your feedback is extremely welcome and helps us shape the course of the roadmap. And finally, keep an eye out for the email afterwards. Share it with your colleagues who might have missed this, if you think they might have got some value from it. Okay, so let's just talk about what we're going to go through today. So first of all, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the Nightingale release and what's in that. Then I'm going to hand over to my colleagues, Toms and Faisal, to go in a little bit more detail on some of those features. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing a Q&A afterwards, hopefully answer some of the questions that you might have had. And then finally back to me to take a glimpse at the future and the roadmap and the future of Distribution Engine. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Nightingale. So Nightingale is the latest release of Distribution Engine, and it's really packed full of features to help you optimize your setup. So the headline feature of this release is the ability to have multiple SLAs and multiple rejection configurations within a single team thanks to custom classification. Before this, teams would have to be separated in order to handle different SLAs or different rejection configurations for different types of records. And this feature now enables you to have your teams in Distribution Engine better representing your teams in the real world by removing this obstacle. We also have some improvements to deduplication, where any additional information on duplicate records is no longer lost as part of the deduplication process. A couple of new availability enhancements, the timer toggles, allowing your reps to take a break for a set period of time, ensuring that they're toggled back on when they get back to their desk, and the daily defaults, ensuring that all of your reps are toggled on or off at the start of the day, and ensuring that's consistency and uniform across every single day of their work week. This isn't an exhaustive list, of course. We have plenty of smaller features, such as multiple pulls from pool distributors and custom objects on triggers, and finally, plenty of quality of life fixes. In terms of when and how you get Nightingale, it's available now on the App Exchange through the Get It Now button, and you can also wait until the 12th of August when we'll start pushing it through to you. All right. That's it for my little overview. I'm going to hand you over to Tom, who's going to talk about custom classification with SLAs.
Thank you, Charlie, and hello, everyone. Organizations deal with an ever-increasing number of different record types. You have different lead sources, different types of accounts and support cases. For example, your hot hand raiser leads and warm webinar attendees could all be worked by the same team members. However, the expectation and speed to lead is different between the two types. We have improved our SLA feature to now work together with the custom classification feature. So allow custom classification to classify your records and then add a different SLA for each type of record. This allows you to have more granular expectations from team members, and you can now simplify your team setup. So let's have a look at this in DE. You'll find SLAs inside every team. This has not changed, but you'll notice that the tabs here now look different. The new Team SLAs tab is where the new setup lives. If you have been using SLAs so far, your existing setup is retained and will look similar to this, where there's one SLA that you can use inside of this team. For example, if lead status still equals assigned 30 minutes after assignment, the SLA fails. The team member is notified, or the lead can be automatically assigned to another user. The changes we're introducing in Nightingale allow you to have multiple SLAs inside a single team. Let's have a look at how this works and how to set it up. Here on the right side of the tab, you will see the Switch to Stamp SLAs link. Click this to access the new settings. Here, in the third drop-down, is where you can select the stamp group to use in SLAs. A reminder that stamp groups and stamps are set up and managed in the classifier. Stamps are an easy way to classify your records into categories based on any criteria you need. For example, determine the priority of a lead based on industry and annual revenue. In my example, I've created a priority stamp group, so I will select that. Here we see that an SLA has been automatically created for the default stamp. The default stamp is the lowest priority record, so for my scenario, it is okay to leave it at 3 hours. I expect my sales team to contact this low priority lead within 3 hours after assignment. Let's add the other two SLAs. To do this, select this Add Configuration button and select the stamp, priority 2 for this example. We could actually select both of them if needed, but let's just leave it at the priority 2. For these leads, the expectation is that they should be contacted within 1 hour from assignment. So what this SLA means is that if a lead with a priority stamp is not contacted within an hour of assignment, the SLA will fail. And finally, let's add the SLA for the priority 1 leads. These are my most premium, hottest leads. For these, I expect the team to contact the lead within the first 15 minutes after assignment. For this scenario, I also want to add auto reassign to ensure that these hot leads get worked on. I'll toggle on auto reassign here, select queue, and select my lead queue and hit save. Let's recap. In the classifier, I have a stamp group called priority, and this stamp group has 3 stamps, priority 1, 2, and 3. These are applied to the lead based on annual revenue and industry. We're now using these stamps to add multiple SLAs inside a single team. The priority 3 leads need to be contacted in 3 hours after assignment, priority 2 leads in an hour after assignment, otherwise the rep is notified. The most premium, priority 1 leads, must be contacted within 15 minutes of assignment, otherwise these are taken away from this rep and sent to another rep instead. So this new setup allows you to reduce the amount of teams you have in DE and add an SLA for each different type of record you have.
So these changes in SLAs now allow you to have more granular expectations from team members and simplify your team setup in DE. If previously you had created separate teams for different types of records, you can now consolidate these teams into one and have a different SLA for each type of record inside this team. The same concept, of course, applies for cases in the support world and other records. This new feature is also available for rejection, allowing you to have a different rejection process for each type of record. So now over to Faisal to talk about improvements in the lead deduplication space in DE.
Thank you, Toms, and hello, everyone. Now, managing and maintaining a clean lead database manually is time-consuming and prone to errors. Now, many organizations need to adhere to data quality standards and regulations, which can be compromised by duplicate data. Now, we've made improvements to our lead deduplication functionality, which has now been enhanced to save data from duplicate records when the original record has blank fields. As you may recall, in our Jellyfish release, we introduced deduplication within our auto-conversion module in Classifier. So this process uses Salesforce's merge functionality to retain all fields on the matched lead and reparent any related records, after which the original lead is deleted. In our Nightingale release, you can now use the copy values from duplicates function to preserve some data from the deleted record. So if set to copy into blank fields, any field with content on the deleted lead will be copied to the remaining lead if that field is blank. And now I will hand you back to Toms, who will run you through the other enhancements we've made to our widget, and specifically the ability to toggle yourself off for a certain period of time. So over to you, Toms.
Thank you, Faisal. Your team members can easily get overwhelmed if their inbound work is not clearly organized, and your hot leads can potentially go unanswered if the lead gets assigned to a team member when they're not available. Often every minute counts. The widget is a feature we introduced some time ago, and we're continuously improving based on your feedback. In this release, we have improved the availability toggle. Your end users can now toggle themselves offline for a specified period of time, an hour, for example. You now also have the ability to specify what state should the toggle be when the team members start their day. Should it be on at specified start time, or should it be off and the team member can toggle themselves online when they're ready for the day? So today, let's recap the different widget features and have a look at the improvements added in Nightingale.
The widget allows the end user, your rep, to have one dedicated place where they can see their assigned work and identify the highest priority work, manage availability, and request more work if needed. The widget can be added to a homepage or the utility bar, just like you can see in my example on my screen right now. Let's have a closer look. First, the user can see a list of records that are assigned to them. This is a quick way for the rep to know which lead needs their attention next. If the lead is unviewed, it has a red dot next to it here. Opposite a counter showing how much time is left until the SLA for this record runs out. You can see here they only have a few minutes left to work on this hot lead until it is assigned to another user. Next, a pull distributor, an optional feature where reps can request additional work. Perhaps they have actioned all the leads that were assigned to them so far and they're looking for more work. They can use the pull button to request another lead from a dedicated source. The changes in Nightingale allow the pull distributor to be configured to pull more than one record at a time. You can specify how many in the settings of that distributor. And finally, the toggle. This feature allows the user to toggle themselves offline to pause assignments. For example, if the rep is going into a longer meeting or stepping away from the desk, they can toggle themselves off to be offline. So for example, if a hot lead comes in, it is not sitting with a rep who is not able to action this work at that moment. You can either allow the user to toggle off for any reason or provide a list of toggle off reasons. Once they're back, they can toggle themselves online and resume assignments. In Nightingale, we have added the ability for the rep to toggle themselves offline for a predetermined time. For example, toggle off for 60 minutes. They are then automatically toggled back at the end of this period. To do this, select the toggle offline for, and select the duration. The options here are the durations that you have predetermined in DE settings, but that user can also toggle themselves offline for a custom duration. Now they're toggled off and will be automatically toggled back on at the time displayed here. Another addition in Nightingale is the ability to ensure that all users start their day in the same toggle state, either on or off. This is useful in cases where you want to ensure that assignments at the start of a shift are made appropriately, either ensuring users need to manually toggle on when they're available at the start of the shift, instead of relying on their state at the end of the last shift, or making sure that users are automatically toggled on to avoid instances where someone was toggled off at the end of the previous shift. The DE widget is a great feature to make available for your end users. This way, they're aware in real time when a record is assigned to them, and they can prioritize their work accordingly.
So to recap, the widget is a great feature to increase the quality of life for your end users by allowing them to see and prioritize their work, request more work if needed, and toggle themselves offline and online with now even more flexibility. So now over to Faisal, who will walk us through a list of other improvements in this release.
Thank you, Toms. So continuously improving our product is at the heart of all of our releases. Now in Nightingale, we've introduced a number of new improvements and tweaks. So let's take a look at these in turn, starting off with the enhancements. So our lookup owner distribution has undergone several improvements to boost its flexibility and robustness. So one key update is the introduction of a new tiebreaker field, enabling you to specify which fields should resolve ties when a lookup returns multiple valid results. Additionally, we've added an option to decide if converted leads should be included or ignored in lookups. To further refine your lookup criteria, we've also increased the number of where clauses to 3. We've had a few requests for this next one. So pull distributors can now be configured to pull more than one record at a time. Now, this is great for users bulk assigning themselves records during quieter periods of their day. So the screenshot on the right shows you what this looks like once assignments have been made. If low volume, high speed distribution is one of your use cases, trigger distribution has now been enhanced to support any object, offering greater flexibility for DE to address your business needs. So this is distribution at high speed using Salesforce's triggers. And in addition, trigger distribution is now enabled by default for all DE customers. So you can start using it today. And you can now add a delay processing filter to postpone the distribution classifier if you wish to delay assigning an object. So for instance, you might want to wait until your data enrichment and validation tools have updated the record before classifying it. Additionally, you can select up to 3 filter criteria that each record of that type must meet to be classified. And then in addition to these enhancements, we've also made a number of quality of life fixes. So for both teams and distributors, the quick switcher dropdowns have been widened to allow for better visibility of options when these are opened. When hovering over a tag on the tag assignment page, it will now highlight all other instances of that tag assigned to other users. And you can see that here on the right-hand side. And finally, teams and distributors can now have a description, so allowing users to identify their purpose from more than just the naming. So descriptions are shown on tooltips throughout the application and in the side panels of the assignment process viewer. And that brings us to the end of our new features and enhancements in Nightingale. So onto the questions. And I can see there have been a few coming in during the session today. So we've got a few minutes to answer these. If we don't get round to your questions on the broadcast, we'll still try to answer them afterwards. So please pop them in the chat or the Q&A panel. And I have our tech team in the background who will be able to provide me with the answers. So I'll give a few more moments for those to come through. Okay, so the first question we have here is, how many records can we pull at a time with the pull distributor? So the minimum is 1, and the maximum there is 100. In a similar vein, another question, how do we configure pull distributors? So this is done within the pull distributors setting. So under method, you'll see a drop down where you can specify that number. Okay, another question here. For toggling offline, can users toggle off and set to another rep? Currently, we're not able to do this, but this is something that we're looking at on the roadmap. Thank you for that question. Got another one here. How many SLA configurations can I have within a team? So the answer to that one is as many as you have stamps in your stamp group. So for example, if you're defining SLAs by vertical and you have 10 verticals, you could have an SLA configuration for each, or you could group them together into less than that. Thank you for that question. Okay, let's just have a look, see if there's any others that have come through. Another question here, when would I use trigger distribution? So trigger distribution works using Salesforce triggers, so making it great for low volumes of very time-sensitive assignments. So where every second counts, essentially. Now, it's worth noting that triggers will fire on record update and not on insert. Okay, if there's any others, please do push them into the chat or Q&A panel. Got another one here. Does the daily default apply across all teams? The answer to that is yes. All teams will be toggled on or off at the start of the day if the daily default is set. Thank you for that question. We have another question here. Can we specify a limit per day by rep rather than by team? Is not quite sure what this limit is for. Is it for pull? I don't know if you can clarify that. Okay. And if it is, by the way, for pull distributors, then yes, that is possible. You can use caps for that. Okay. I think that's everything in terms of the questions. But again, if there are any others you think of, please do enter them in the chat or Q&A panel. So I'll now hand you back to Charlie, who will share some exciting product updates with you. So over to you, Charlie.
Thank you, Faisal. Really nice to see all of those questions coming through. Just going to take a few minutes to talk about the roadmap, look into the future of Distribution Engine. As always with roadmap slides, a caveat that this is liable to change, so please bear this in mind as we go through this. So as you can see, our roadmap, we're talking about things that are coming now, so things we're working on at the moment, things we're thinking about doing next, and then kind of broader strategies and themes that we're going to be looking to do in slightly longer term. First of all, I think one thing to point out is that UX is under all three columns there, and this is to underline that we've got an ongoing commitment to improving the usability of Distribution Engine in basically every area: onboarding, navigation, accessibility. This is going to be a real focus for us over the next few releases. Now, just to pick out a few other highlights from the roadmap. So we're going to start off with Journey of a Record. So we understand that when you've got a bit more of an established Distribution Engine set up, quite often you might get questions, hey, how come I got this record? Or I haven't had anything for a while. And what we're really hoping to expose with Journey of a Record is kind of opening the hood of Distribution Engine and allowing you to see why it made the decisions as part of the assignment, to give you guys some confidence in the tool and to give your team confidence that it's behaving correctly. Another thing I'd like to pull out is dynamic team member updates. So we understand that when you've got large teams or teams that change a lot, lots of churn, lots of people in, lots of people out, it can be quite an overhead to add and remove all these team members. What we're looking to do with dynamic team members is to basically allow you to set your team members to be kind of defined programmatically, so that when people enter the criteria of what is a team member for this team, they're added to the team, and when they're removed from that team member, from that criteria, then they will be removed from that team member list. That could be using something, for example, like Salesforce roles. Looking into next, we've got a couple of bits and pieces there to talk about. So Faisal mentioned some enhancements to deduplication already. Obviously, this is something we want to keep working on. We really want to build that up and make that a best-in-class tool. And we're also looking at improving the rep experience, perhaps surfacing some information about performance and performance relative to their peers. So maybe being able to see, for example, time to action. Maybe my time to action is 2 hours, and maybe my peers and my team are 1 hour, and maybe being able to flag that in some way could be potentially motivating in some use cases. Finally, it's the big one. Everyone's talking about it. We've got AI under the later category. It's something we're constantly looking at, our fingers on the pulse for this. kind of all the time, especially when it comes to what Salesforce are releasing in this area. We're really looking into things like Einstein Copilot integration and generative content throughout Distribution Engine. So you might also see at the bottom of the roadmap, we have a little swim lane for our new booking engine product. For those of you who aren't aware, this is our kind of new Salesforce native product aimed at streamlining booking and meetings within your org. So we're going to be starting by focus on the hot handover capability. So that's SDRs to AEs, making sure that goes nice and smoothly, really reducing the friction and the time taken to book handover meetings in. But we'll be shortly expanding that to booking links so that your reps can share their availability with clients in a kind of asynchronous way, and web forms where you'll be able to embed booking on a web form without obviously the client reaching out and talking to you beforehand. What I'd like to do is show you a little bit of where we're at with Booking Engine. Just before we show that video, just a little caveat that this is all kind of pre-release and liable to change. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a Salesforce native app. So Booking Engine is going to be launched from directly on your record. Just wait for the video to start. Okay, yep. So we'll be launching that directly from the record, and it will have the capability to have kind of these booking types, these configurations, different team members, different durations. It's going to have, of course, in true Distribution Engine style, different ways to choose who we're assigning this to: round robin, lookup owner, or manual selection. And then we're going to be pulling that calendar data back directly from your Google Calendar or your Microsoft Calendar. Finally, we'll be able to automatically introduce meeting platforms. So that's Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom capability. If you're interested in that, so we haven't got a date for GA, but we will be opening a limited beta in September. My email address is product@nc-squared.com. Please reach out and talk to me if you have some interest in booking. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, so just to recap everything we've seen today, Nightingale is available now with all those good features that we've seen, and you can get that from the App Exchange using Get It Now. Push upgrades will be starting from August the 12th. Any feedback on anything you've seen today, any questions that we didn't get to, any ideas for roadmap stuff, anything at all, please talk to us. Product@nc-squared.com. From myself, from Faisal, from Tom's, we really, really appreciate you being able to join, and we hope you have a great day wherever you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.